You are now listening to the Going North podcast, where you'll receive tips and techniques to advance yourself. I'm your host, Dom Brightmon, and every week we're going to be hearing from an author who's going to share their expertise to help you charge forward in life. On a quick side note, be sure to check out Going North the book. It's available in ebook, audio, as well as paperback form for those who love to read a traditional book. Now let's get on with the show.
And today on the Going North podcast.
Hey there, all my folks out in Baltimore, especially in the Cockeysville area. Clear your calendars on Saturday, July the 7th at 1 p.m. I'm going to be having a joint book event with my good friend, fellow author, and podcast host, Mark Greatness Hunter, called Going North to Greatness. At this event, which is free, I might add, you are going to be hearing some powerful messages, some inspiring messages, some uplifting messages that will help you to focus on going forward to better, to breaking through, and to go north to your greatness. You'll learn how to overcome self-doubt, network with others, and hear some important messages that will help you stay inspired to charge and chase after your dream, and also to remember to encourage others. So go over into Eventbrite, type in Going North to Greatness. It'll be hashtag GNTG 2018, and I look forward to seeing you there.
We have, you guessed it, another author, but not just any author. You're about to step into some greatness in this episode, as well as some others if you go back into the backlog. But this wonderful lady right here, she's got an MBA, y'all, an MBA, and she's actually using it, which is freaking awesome. And she's also built an awesome career in HR, and she's used her success to create a scholarship to help students in underserved communities pay for college. And you know how many kids are going to need help with that. And she is also a motivational speaker, and she also delivers a lot of funny and eye-opening workshops. So if you got a pair of glasses, all four of your eyes are going to be open. The podcast host wears glasses, so you definitely know his eyes are going to be open. And this wonderful lady, when she's not inspiring the masses, she is right in a small town in North Carolina living with her husband, and she enjoys yoga, Pilates, practicing meditation, and spending time with nature. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful lady is I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one and only CBP, Miss Chandra Broadnax Payne. How are you today, ma'am?
Hi, Dom. I am awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm wonderful.
Awesome indeed. It's a pleasure to have you on this podcast, too, because the ladies are taking this podcast by storm, baby. Taking it by storm. Have some Wonder Women, baby.
That is so funny. When you were reading my bio just now, I thought, wow, who is that woman? Is that me? She did all that? Sometimes you don't realize all the things that you've done and all the lives that you touched until you see it on paper. So I'm just going to sit here for a quick moment and give myself a pat on the back and say thank you, Chandra, and thank you to all the women, other super women who have helped me to get to where I am today, because that's what it's all about, uplifting each other and building each other up.
Oh, amen. Yes, ma'am, indeed. And you know the funny part about that is that isn't even everything. So mind filling in the gaps where I may have missed some things in the introduction?
Sure. As you said, I spent many years in HR doing a lot of HR-related work. I was actually in banking for about 15 years right after college, and things went really well. I enjoyed banking, and then one day I woke up and I said, I think I want to do something different. I had no idea what that something different was. And in 2015, I told my husband, I think I want to start being a motivational speaker. I don't know what that looks like, what exactly I'll be doing, but all my life I've been that go-to encourager. So I just wanted to expand on that and help as many people as I could, and that's how my business, the empowerment movement, came about in 2015. I would go out and speak to churches and colleges and some corporations and just talk about personal development and things of that nature. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So that looks like 3 years of motivating the masses.
Mm-hmm.
3 years of motivating the masses. So any lessons learned or trials that you have to overcome while you were starting your motivational speaking career?
Anytime you're building a business, you're going to learn some lessons, and you're going to learn them the hard way. And that's okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it's true.
But it's so rewarding. I have nothing against corporate America or working for anyone else, but building my business has been the hardest thing that I've had to do. I'm not millionaire status yet. I'm a wishful thinker, and I know that when God promises something, that he fulfills his promises. So I have hope for that millionaire status one day, and one day soon. But it's so rewarding to see people each and every day and talk to people every day and just be there with them in the trenches, because life is hard. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is speaking with women. My business is all about women's empowerment, if you haven't figured that out yet. My book is about women's empowerment as well. So everything that I do is about women's empowerment. And having the opportunity just to have some real good, solid conversations with women, women who are doing wonderful things, women who strive to do wonderful things, it makes my heart smile, if I could be honest. And I can't see myself doing anything different than what I'm doing today.
That is awesome indeed, especially since your book's all about women's empowerment. It's got the perfect title, You Go Girl. So what inspired the book?
It was my own life. And I always joke and say, anyone who knows me, I call myself the accidental author because the idea for the book actually came about unexpectedly. I was writing in my journal. Unfortunately, I was in an accident and had a neck injury. And it was a really hard time. I had a lot of pain. I couldn't move my neck for about 8 months and did physical therapy and all that stuff. So during that time, I had nothing else to do but to read and write. And so I would sit there and I would lay on my bed and I started writing in my journal. I said, well, I'm bored. I have nothing else to do. And I'd hold up my journal and start jotting down different things in my journal. But it was more of a reflection time for me. And I was writing about everything in my life that had happened, things that didn't happen, my dreams. And then I started writing about a time in my life when I had gone through depression. And so I started reflecting back on what that felt like to me. Why do I think that I was in that space? And what I found was that I was suffering from lack of self-love. I didn't have self-love. And so I started writing in the journal every day, and at the top of each page I would write, how could I love myself more? How could I learn to honor myself and respect myself more? And those are all the chapters that ended up in the book. Because one day I was sitting there, and God speaks to you in all kinds of ways. And God said, you thought this journal was just for your own benefit, but it's not. And he said, I want you to take all 27 chapters, 27 chapters at the time, and type them up on your computer, and this is going to be your very first book. You wondered why you couldn't finish any other book that you started before or anything else that you started before. This is your first book. And that's what I did, Dom. I literally turned on my computer, and it took me a while because at the time I was still dealing with this injury. So it took me several months to type it up. But each day I would type up little by little, and that's how this book was actually created. So I laugh and say I was sort of the accidental author. You know, I didn't set out to write this book. It was me journaling and reflecting on my life and the things that I had been through and how I came out on the other side.
Oh, you go, girl, indeed. You go, girl. That's what I'm talking about. This is the real AA, not the AA meeting, but the AA right here, accidental author. Oh, my gosh. Probably make that a group and probably have a bunch of authors join. Like, yeah, welcome to the Accidental Authors Club. Yeah. I fell one day and a book came out of my head. It was great.
Hey, however it came out, it came out.
No, but seriously, no, that is really amazing, though. Having a neck injury and not being able to move your neck for 8 months, I mean, that probably was a very painful 8 months, and that's especially when the physical therapy probably came in too.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely. But I had a great therapist, great physical therapist who works with me a couple of times a week, and now it's almost like a distant memory. But that was a difficult time. When I look at everything that's come out of it since, I don't regret anything, because I know that this is my purpose, to speak to women, to give them tools to step into their greatness.
There you go. Don't even need the spike heels either.
That's right, because I can't walk in them. I can only walk in them for about 10 minutes, and then the flats come out.
Yeah, let me strut in this church right here. All right, I'm in my pew. All right, here comes the flash. Right,
you know. You might see a lot of women in your church do that, because that's what I do.
It's like, man, you are tall. All right. Man, you got short. What's that? Oh, okay. I see that. Like, okay. Oh, man. So with the journaling, it can be hard to do, but I guess the injury kind of made it hard not to do it, now that I think about it.
It did, because I'm sorry, I had nothing else to do but journal and read books.
Yeah, because it's true. Because like, wait a second, because journaling for me personally, it can be hard to stay consistent with it. Because I'm kind of like a sporadic journaler. Heck, even with my book personally, I never wrote every day, because a lot of folks be like, yeah, you got to write every day of your life. I'm like, well, sounds great. It's really great to do. Probably would have more content, but no, I didn't write every day.
I typically don't either. I don't write every day. Like I said, I just literally had nothing else to do. I couldn't really go out because sitting down or standing too long was just painful. So the journaling became my best friend.
Best friend indeed. So any advice for those who are looking to start journaling, besides the fact that you never know, you might end up having a book in your hands if you write long enough?
I guess my best advice would be just to let yourself go while you're journaling. Don't put too much thought into it. Just write. You'll be amazed at what can come out of it, because I really believe that journaling is one of the tools that we can use to help find ourselves. And it's a wonderful feeling to get to know yourself. And that's what I like to tell people journaling can help you do. It can really help you get to know yourself. Because if you don't know you, you can't expect anybody else out here in this world to know you. All of that starts within yourself.
Yeah, that's true indeed. So make sure you journal in a book with your hands, not like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or Instagram.
That's an excellent point, because you'll end up regretting it later or trying to delete it 10 minutes later and someone's already screen captured what you wrote anyway.
Amen to that. They talk about speed of light, but no one ever talks about the speed of internet. Like once you put it out there, it's game over. Like they got you. They take whatever you put out there and make it a meme. And
That's
someone
right.
out in Sri Lanka is gonna freaking read it. And you'd be like, no, I didn't want to be famous this way, no.
Right. That's funny.
So overcoming the neck injury and putting all your expertise and inspiration into a book, which is awesome. You also mentioned some books that you're reading while you're in the neck injury. So any books in addition to the Bible that have really inspired you to be the Chandra that you are today?
Oh, yeah. And I could name a whole lot of books, but I know we don't have that much time because I'm one of those women that you see running out of the library with 5 or 6 books falling from her under her arm. But I would say that my favorite book of all time is by author and speaker Lisa Nichols. And I think it was her first book, but don't quote me on that. But it's called No Matter What. And I went to the library one day, picked it up, had no idea at the time who she was, and I read that book, and it changed my life. Here was this woman, you know, she wasn't the Lisa Nichols that we see today, motivating the masses. She was before, this was pre the huge, magnificent, phenomenal woman that we see today. But in the book, it's an autobiography, and she's talking about her life growing up in California. And then she goes on to talk about having her son and being in abusive relationships and just the struggles of life and picking herself up off the ground and going forth and becoming the phenomenal woman that we see on Oprah or in The Secret. And that book really inspired me because I was born in East New York in the 70s in a time where, you know, there was a lot of drugs going on in East New York at that time, and crime was pretty high. And so I grew up in that era, and I didn't see anyone outside of what I could physically see with my eyes. I didn't see anyone doing anything successful. And so reading that book, it opened my eyes and reminded me that anything that you can dream is possible, that there's no reason that you can't have whatever it is that you dream of. As a matter of fact, I have no desire to be a doctor, but Dom, if I wanted to be a doctor, I could. Now, it's going to take a lot of work, some schooling, but if that's what I want to do, I can do it. There's no reason that I can't. And so that's what that book did for me. It reminded me and opened my eyes up and let me know that anything is possible. And so I've always dreamed about doing something on my own outside of corporate. I didn't always know what that was, but that book gave me the fuel and the fire and the determination to just step out on faith and say that I can do this no matter what.
That's what I'm talking about. Because as soon as you said Lisa Nichols, I was like, oh, shoot, is she about to recommend Abundance now?
I haven't read that one yet. I have it. I actually have a signed copy of it, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. But I'm sure it's just as great as No Matter What.
Funny enough, a couple podcast guests past actually recommended that book, and they said that they highlighted a lot of stuff 2 times over because it was that darn good.
Oh, wow. I can believe it.
Yeah, because she is a powerhouse indeed, and I keep on hearing about that book, and I'll get around to reading it since I actually bought the book. So I'm definitely going to get around to reading it. It's like, okay, if all these folks in my circles are actually recommending this book, it's time I go ahead and read it.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to some Lisa Nichols greatness, in your book, You Go Girl, The 25 Ways, if there would be 2 ways from that book that you recommend that are probably the most powerful for our listeners to take home and eat on before they buy the book and while they're waiting for it to be shipped to them, what 2 ways would be probably the most beneficial, especially in your life?
I would have to say number 1 would be to guard your thoughts, because I don't think that we as people recognize the power of our thoughts, because you can't do anything without first thinking about it. So if you have these desires and things that you want to achieve in life, if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not smart enough to do this, or I don't have what it takes to do this, who am I to think that I can do this? You're not going to do it. You know, and I don't mean to sound harsh, but I like to be realistic. I don't sugarcoat. It just is what it is. If you're setting yourself up for failure with your thoughts, then there's absolutely no way you're going to achieve the things that you really want to achieve. So that's why it's so important, or that's one of my favorite chapters in the book, is to guard your thoughts. Because out of your thoughts come action. And then the second thing in the book, I guess, would be to trust yourself. That's another chapter in the book. Really trust who you are. And that takes getting to know yourself and taking care of yourself. You haven't gotten this far in life because you don't know what you're doing. So that's why it's really important to trust yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Watch the relationships that you're in. And I don't mean just intimate relationships. I mean friendships and people you're surrounding yourself with. If you get that gut feeling that maybe this isn't somebody you should be hanging around with or dating, or maybe you shouldn't get in the car with this person because they've had a little bit too much to drink, trust that feeling.
That's when you really go further away.
Right.
That's right. You go, girl, away from them.
That's right. Step into those heels and out the door. Yeah, because your gut doesn't lie. Our mind can sometimes lie to us, but our gut doesn't lie to us. Again, my favorite chapters, or the thing, of course, read the whole book, but guard your thoughts and trust yourself really resonate with me and really stand out.
Standing out indeed, because guard your thoughts, that is really important, because there's so much stimulation out there with social media and the speed of the internet where everything is so darn fast. You can get so much information so quickly, and then you get bloated and constipated with all this information, and it may not all be good information either.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
So it's funny enough that your book is titled You Go Girl, 25 Ways to Step into Your Greatness. And my favorite question to ask podcast guests is to basically, well, for you in particular, probably go back in 5 years with all your knowledge, and you were 25 in 2018 with all of the knowledge. What advice would you give to yourself?
Ooh, 25. Oh, goodness. That was many moons ago, but I know that I didn't have it all together. But I guess the best advice that I would give my 25-year-old self in 2018 would be just love up on some you, honey. And again, I think I talked about this at the beginning of the interview. I didn't always love myself, and that showed in some of the decisions I made, some of the people that I chose to associate with. You know, I didn't always honor myself. And so the best advice that I would give to myself is to get to know me. Spend some time getting to know myself and just loving up on me. Because when you do that, then you make room for everybody else, or you make room for love in your circle.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Love on yourself. You wake up in the morning, you pour honey on yourself because you love yourself. That's what I'm talking about.
Now, see, Dom, you know I didn't mean it that way. But if it works for you, honey, then pour some honey on yourself. Whatever works for you. That's what they sell honey in the store for. Get you a big old bottle.
Yeah, you're right, though.
You didn't think you were going to get all this today, did you?
Oh, no, it tends to happen. Ain't nobody safe, even me. But yeah, amen to that, because, I mean, yeah, when you love yourself, that means you're aware of what works for you and how best to treat yourself, especially with guarding your mind and as well as guarding your time, because time is finite. I mean, folks are leaving this world at a younger age than ever now. It's not just the older folks. We got folks living past age 100 now, and folks dying at 25. So make sure you love yourself now. I agree with you 120%. I agree with you.
Thank you. Always tell people, if you Google any company today, you can Google any company, pull up their website, and I guarantee you, you'll find a mission statement, vision statement, what they're doing in the community. And so I always like to ask people, excuse me, what is your mission statement? What is your vision statement? Because you have to stand for something, or as the saying goes, you'll fall for anything. And how can you know your mission statement? How can you know your vision statement if you don't know you? So that's why it's so important to get to know yourself. And a part of getting to know yourself, that's where that self-awareness comes in. That's where that self-love comes into play. And you start to understand what you'll stand for, what's important to you. Because what's important to you when you are 20 isn't necessarily going to be the same thing when you're 40, 50, 60 years old. So I think it's really important to have self-awareness, get to know yourself, and love up on yourself, whether that's with honey or not.
You're going to do that tomorrow, aren't you? Have your husband look at you like you're crazy.
Thank goodness I have my office door closed, because if he walks by, he would say, "Are you sure you're doing a podcast? Who are you talking to?"
Yes, indeed. So for those who want to get some extra inspiration and some empowerment, especially for the fellow ladies, so y'all can keep being some Wonder Women, how can we keep in contact with the wonderful Chandra?
You can visit my website, which is www.chandrabpayne.com. That's chandrabpayne.com. Or you can check me out on Facebook at Chandra B. Payne. Or if you want to reach out to me directly, you are more than welcome to email me at chandra.b.payne@gmail.com.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. You got all of our contact information. Go on ahead and pick up 25 copies of a book. Give them out to your friends, your family, especially in the summertime when you need some good beach reading, especially if you want to get some inspiration while you're soaking in some water and some sand.
That's right, Dom. I might need to hire you to promote for me.
Yeah, it'll be like a carnival barker, except I'll be doing it with the Macho Man Randy Savage voice. It'll be awesome. Let me tell you something, brother. This wonderful lady right here wrote this book called You Go Girl. That's what I'm talking about. You go girl, brother. I mean girl, yeah.
Hey, it will definitely catch someone's attention.
That's right. Have the picture of the book on my T-shirt. Who's this strange black guy talking like Randy Savage selling a book called You Go Girl?
Right.
That's strange.
Hey, that's the unique marketing. So your voice and a shirt with You Go Girl.
Yeah, I didn't read the book, but I had some ladies read it, and they said they wanted to take on the world with some leadership heels, brother. Good stuff.
Oh, my goodness. You're so funny.
Yeah, fun is also part of the podcast.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy. Stop it right now and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers, especially those who have book clubs and want to listen to the authors who write some amazing books. Be sure to check out the rest of the backlog too while you're at it, and share all those too. And in order to make the rest of your week the best of your week, remember to advance others to